Shalom u'bracha, peace and blessings. This week's Torah reading is the Torah reading of Korach. It draws its name from the central character in this piece of the narrative. His name was Korach. He was the first cousin of Moshe and Aaron, of Moses and Aaron, and he leads a revolt. And he is actually leading a revolt because he organizes all of the detractors against Moshe, and he approaches Moshe with his complaint. Ki chol ha'am kulam kedoshim, the entire people is holy, uvetocham Hashem, and within them is God. Umadua tisnasu al kal Hashem, why do you make yourself a prince above the community of Israel? Now, Korach and his followers were certainly not altruistic. Some of their motivations are found right in the text. Others we rely on commentaries. But you had a group of people, each who wanted power for themselves, and their motivations were actually contradictory. Korach was able to bring them together against Moshe, and this must have been a very difficult thing for Moshe to deal with, because even though Moshe had dealt with revolts before, this was family and this was personal. That makes Moshe's response even more remarkable. Vayishma Moshe vayipol al panav. Moshe heard, and he fell on his face. He didn't act and react in anger. He took pause, he fell on his face, and then, after he grieved about the situation that he was in, he reacted. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh, the Holy Orach Chaim, explains that Moshe's falling on his face was humility rather than fear. This is expanded upon in a Dvar Torah that I heard from my dear friend Barry Mail. Barry had quoted one of the early Hasidic masters in stating that Vayipol al panav meant actually that he looked inward, that his falling on his face was he looked inward, he looked at himself, and he explained that this is the way that great people deal with criticism. The first thing that they do is they look inside and they say, is there something that I need to do to improve the situation? Is there something that I have done to aggravate this situation? And I believe that this message would be a very appropriate message during this election year, as we see candidates taking very harsh positions on subjects, we then attacking each other. We might say, where is Vayipol al panav? And they fell on their face and they looked inwards. Why do elections need to be about attacking the other rather than looking at yourself? Looking at your faults and looking at your strengths, compensating for those areas in which you can do better, and compensating for your weaknesses, and selling yourself as the best option for the nation by advocating your strengths rather than your opponent's weaknesses. It is human nature for us to react harshly and emotionally when criticism is placed in front of us. It takes a great person to, like Moshe, like Moses, to fall on our face, to look inwards and say, what of this is mine? What do I need to do? What is my part in moving this forward? Shabbat Shalom.